when the 14th Army went back into Burma in 1944, they had been told there would be no more retreat. They'd been told you advance, you hold your ground, and that they would be supplied from the air. Airdrop supplies became a key part to the entire Burma campaign. There were two types of drop from aircraft. One type of supply drop, they would come down by parachute. The other was known as the free drop, in a big sack, rather like this one. Now a free drop would often be a sack filled with hay, and that would be to feed the mules, and in the centre of it would be supplies in boxes, supplies of food, letters, newspapers, and even tin food on top of that, so it would be absolutely packed. Supply drops would contain all sorts of treats for soldiers. It'd be newspapers and magazines, but the things that really made the difference were letters from home. Now, families often would not know how their relative was getting on in the Far East because they wouldn't be able to write back very often. But the families were encouraged to keep on writing because the drops would supply the men with their letters. When the men got away from the front lines and they did have a chance to write home, there were three main ways which they could write back. One was the blue letter here, the airmail, now known as the bluey, sent by email, but in those days it was a handwritten letter. If you were lucky, you got one of these. This was a privilege envelope. Now this was the one that you had to obey the instructions, which was up to 3 letters may be forwarded in this cover, but these must be from the same writer. The cover should be addressed to the same case as base censor. This envelope must not be used for coins or valuables, and you had to certify on your honour that the contents of this envelope refer to nothing but private and family affairs. But the real innovation was this one, the aerograph. Now the airgraph letter was something a bit special. With no phone calls, and remember in World War II the internet had not even been dreamed of, and there was no home leave unless there was a family emergency, the only way soldiers in Burma could communicate with their families back home was by letter. Each man in Burma might get maybe one active service army privilege envelope a month, in which he could send up to 3 letters to the same person. Military personnel could not reveal where they were or talk of military matters in their letters, and he would have to swear upon his honour that the contents had nothing to do with anything other than private and family matters. If he risked saying anything more, he would risk having them all destroyed by the censor who checked them. The thousands of letters involved soon became a logistical problem, a nightmare in fact. So in 1940, the General Post Office, the GPO, suggested a solution based on Kodak's Recordac microfilm system, whereby a letter written on the approved form could be photographed, along with many more, and sent in real film form to their destination office, where they would be developed, printed individually, and sent to who it was addressed to. Each 100-foot roll of 16mm film could contain images of approximately 1,600 letters. An incredible 300 million airgraphs were processed during the Second World War.